Thank you very much indeed, and thank you to One World and League Against Cruel Sports for bringing this event. We'll start with an apology. We have at 12 o'clock a moment of reflection after the death of my close colleague Joe Cox, just not far from here, so I will be brief, and if you excuse me running away to that shortly after these speeches. This is a big issue. I spoke to some of my colleagues who were in the Labour government of 1997 who fought to bring the initial bans on fox hunting in. And it wasn't an easy process. They found it an incredibly difficult process to persuade the country to get it through Parliament. But I think the strength of the legislation is that we're in a position now where the entirety of the country, I think 85% of the previous polls that we've seen, are now in favour of this legislation and banning the barbaric practice of fox hunting, and indeed other barbaric practices in terms of animal welfare in this country. And we have to fight, not just because these individual issues are really important in terms of animal welfare and foxes and standing up against these kinds of, in inverted commas, sports, but it's about what kind of country we are. And what kind of country is it whereby in 2017 we go into a general election where one of the #1 priorities of the current government is to bring back the kind of barbaric practices in sports that we banned and fought so hard to ban just 20 years ago. That shows you not just their own thoughts about what kind of country they want, but what kind of party and what kind of government they would be, not just on this issue, but across a whole host of other social issues as well. And I'm delighted that our own manifesto going into this election, both at UK level and indeed at Scottish level, will guarantee that a Labour government will bring forward the most stringent animal welfare legislation in the world to protect not just Fergus here in terms of foxes, but to protect other animals from snaring, from barbaric practices in slaughterhouses, from all of those big issues that we know still need to be dealt with in terms of animal welfare. The other thing I would say is that we need to try and keep this kind of issue at the top of the agenda. Many politicians get caught up in the minutiae of what's happening at Parliament in terms of some of the big issues around Brexit, but actually the big issues about fox hunting and about animal welfare need to be kept at the top of the agenda, and that's why it's so important for One World and the League Against Cruel Sports to continue to make the case and press politicians and press civic society to do the right thing. I've received over 300 emails on this issue already in this general election campaign. If you sent them, thank you. I genuinely mean that. And we will respond to those, but it's important to keep the pressure on, and the pressure, as Tommy said, has to go on those backbench Conservative MPs who we can draw across to make sure that we can win this argument. And let me just say one other brief thing. The House of Lords at the moment doesn't have a government majority in it, and although I would rather the House of Lords wasn't there and we replaced it with some other kind of democratic system, whilst it's there, let's use it to make sure the government can't get these legislative changes through. The House of Lords can defeat the government, so put pressure on every single email address you can get hold of from the parliamentary website of a House of Lords member to tell them that if the government brings this legislation forward and they railroad it through the House of Commons, as Tommy has already suggested, that the House of Lords block it and send it back so we can continue to make the case that this is a barbaric process that should be continued to be banned, and not just banned, but the legislation strengthened. And just finally, we've got a real opportunity in Scotland to strengthen the legislation with the proposals that are currently going through the consultation system at the Scottish Parliament. Let's make the case to our members of the Scottish Parliament and to civic society here in Scotland that we want the best and strongest possible bans in the legislation here in Scotland. If we can do that here and we can defeat this at Westminster as well, everyone in the country will be a much better place to live. Thank you very much indeed.